Hey guys, welcome back to Catchnick4 or whatever my YouTube account is. I don't even remember these days. It's been years since I've posted a video, but we're back at it in the garage with a new homebrew from the Battle of Mansfield. This is a design I did a couple years ago, meant to be linked with the Battle of Pleasant Hill. Mansfield obviously is much larger than this. There were kind of three phases to the battle. This little scenario that I came up with focuses on the second phase of the battle, kind of after initial contact between Mouton's Louisianians and Walker's Texans here. So you've got the Union 13th Corps, which is taking some licks. They are falling back onto this little ridge right here behind the Fincher house, and you've got a small division coming up. Essentially, this is just going to be a little quick hitter. We've got my Uncle John, old reliable, going to help me give this a go here. We didn't want to play anything too involved, so I kind of looked at some scenarios that I had from designs that I don't know that anything will ever come of them. We've never played this scenario, but we thought this one looked fun. It's called Brave to a Fault. It's going to be 3 turns, essentially. The Confederate player opens. Essentially, their goal is going to be to skedaddle the 13th Corps here. Let's see if we can zoom in on any of these guys. Try not to get the glare. But you'll see a lot of these Union counters already have loss counters underneath them. They've taken some hits already. Same thing with some of the Confederate units. Mouton has already been, I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it, Mouton or something like that. He was already killed somewhere probably over in this vicinity. So we have Polignac. I don't know how to pronounce these things, but he's now in charge of the division. Got some little rules kind of made up with the starting locations, the victory conditions, some notes. Essentially, this is just kind of something fun we're going to mess around with. I don't particularly know that it's balanced. We'll find out. This is the first time I've probably played it opposed. I might have played it solo once or twice, like I said, years and years ago. So we'll see. Maybe we'll do another video here in a bit showing some of the progress. But just kind of messing around, playing with something here that's... this may be the only regimental scale game that I know of for the Battle of Mansfield. So if we get that done and we have fun and we decide not to play, what do we have? Dead Belt and Fury Football. Yep. We've got those on the table potentially tonight too. We always have this as a backup. And this is a scenario from another design that I have on Fort Donelson called Storming Redan No. 2. Essentially, McClernand orders an assault on this entrenched position here known as Redan No. 2. Probably tough for the Federals, but we shall see. What's your strategy here coming into Brave to a Fault?
I just got to go reckless and hard and probably try to charge at every opportunity.
Yep. I think most of the Texans up there, the yellowish colored counters, I think they're in pretty good shape. Maybe one loss on a couple of the regiments, but for the most part, I think they're going to be kind of the battering ram of this situation. So we'll see.
LOB that you could get done in a night. That's an amazing thing, and possibly 2 in one night.
Yeah. So the goal is, if it's fun and we think there's anything here worth sharing, hit me up, send me a message, and I will share the files with you. This prints out on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. The counters for both of these little games can essentially print out on one little sheet. Do I have it out here? Let's see. So essentially what I do is I take a sheet of like sticky backing paper, and I just cut them out and put them right onto some blank counters that I have. So it's pretty easy. The counter sheet that I'll post will have all the status markers and the loss markers and all that. So if you don't have those, you can make them. But yep, there it is. Battle of Mansfield, regimental scale. We're gonna get after it. See ya. Okay, here we are after the Confederate first turn. Probably took us, maybe 20, 30 minutes. We take our time. Uncle John's very particular. Plus, this is very important, I think, on this first turn, what the Confederate player does. And I would say, based on the number of cowardly legs and disorganized units that you see all lined up back here, he, I would say, did what he probably needed to do that turn.
This stack here was able to charge 2 guys and throw them out of the way, and just was 1 MP short of getting at that artillery.
Yeah, and that leader survived 2 charge attempts, which is that's risky. We did have 1 leader die. Who was it? Scurry.
Scurry.
Yep. So we had to write up Repel for Scurry over here. So now that brigade is going to have to roll every turn, which could be bad because this is a really short scenario. So you got to take some risks here. But he's bringing Randall's brigade, which started here after Mouton's division kind of came in and messed these guys up. He's decided that instead of trying to work his way through the artillery that's now kind of posted up in the front line, he's going to work them around the flank here. So I got to try to get these guys, which are not, I mean, they're decent, but they're not a huge 2 brigades. I got to figure out what I got to do here, and I got a whole mess of stuff I got to deal with. So far we're having fun. So here is the conclusion of the second Confederate turn. Some interesting developments. I think it's going to be tough for the Confederates to win this here. The Repel failed his role, which I think we would agree was important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was 1 big stack that just had to shoot, and then 1 stack that could do nothing.
There was also an instance of a couple failed closing rolls over here, and I had a opening volley where I rolled a 6, and it was it gray? Did I wreck? Or no, I made him small. So I made gray small, and he couldn't actually continue his charge.
Yeah.
And that was brutal because he was about ready to go ham through some
these
cavalry.
Freaking cav are pain in my ass.
These guys have kind of held their own over here. They've stalled. I think if they were cleared, it would be a lot different because his front would be a little further down and he'd have more opportunities. As it stands right now, he does have a couple infantry units with wall that could potentially reach the HQ by the end of next turn, but I am going to be able to counterattack this turn, and the hope is that we can throw him back. So on his next turn, he's got some stacks that are lined up. He might be moving forward to try to move me, throw some cowardlies, and if he's got anybody within range, he's going to be hoping and praying to the dice gods. But a couple failed attacks up here. Scurry's kind of petered out. I think he failed a closing roll here. We had a router, some badness.
No, he didn't activate, or he couldn't move.
Ah, yes. Scurry just rolled a 1 on
Or
his...
no, they did activate. Yeah, you're right. That was all my closing rolls failed.
Yep. So the cav over here on the flank, I had a carbine guy that I think we routed.
Yeah. 16th Texas cav.
Some
They're like non-existent.
Yeah, we messed them up pretty good. My artillery was holding pretty good here. We had an instance where we might have flubbed a roll, but there was a failed closing roll, and we just said we already rolled the dice, so we just ran with it. So I have a limbered artillery unit here that's probably going to be running back to set up somewhere. We just said roll with it. It is what it is. hypothetically he would maybe be somewhere here, but we kind of want to see what happens. So far we're having fun. I think it's going to be tough on the Confederates, but like I said, we're having fun. So one more turn, we'll see what happens. All right, and here we are at the end of the game as we had it drawn up. As you can see, the Confederates did not make it. The Union player kind of did some gamey things here, stacking up the potential route of advance that the Confederate player was going to take. He had some units that might have had a chance to skedaddle the core HQ. What he really needed to do was get some guys around, clear out these units. It was going to be a pretty far-fetched affair, and I think we kind of knew at the end of the second Confederate player turn that it was going to be tough, just because the Union that player is going to do some gamey stuff. So we had some thoughts about how to alleviate that. First off, what were your impressions of this small scenario?
I think, other than the counter density, it'd be a great scenario to give a new player the Confederates and just tell them be aggressive, drive. Though, I mean, a lot of units, they might get bogged down, but it was enjoyable. I taught you too much of the ASL gaminess.
Oh yeah,
the way you line them up to prevent me from getting through there.
So our thought on how to alleviate that was, instead of having a set amount of turns, which essentially is 2.5 turns because the Union player doesn't really take that third turn if they don't need to, is I think what we're going to do is have variable rolls for game end. That is to be determined on what those rolls will be. Maybe 4 to 6 or a 5 to 6 on that turn. Then yeah, next turn, then it would get more likely that it's going to end, so on and so forth. I think that would really change the dynamic of how each player acts on each turn. Would you agree that there are things that you would have done differently if there was a chance that the game would have extended to more turns?
I don't know if the Confederate player can have that luxury. I think the Confederate has to keep driving, but I think the Union player then would have to be a little more cautious about not just loading up. You know, I mean, I pulled my Repel back here, but you know, he would have still been there, so you would have had to maybe defend, or maybe I could have, hoping that I had more time. I guess the way it would change my thinking as the Confederates is if you kind of got me closed off, you know, on one flank, you know, I might then bank on, hopefully the game goes longer and I can quick swing around the other way or something. But I shouldn't have been as aggressive on that first turn with Scurry.
Yeah, Scurry got killed on the first turn, which kind of screwed up a pretty decent brigade for the Confederates from the outset, because if they roll that no movement, I mean, that's killer.
But then those carbines, they screwed up the rest of that,
yes.
that brigade.
So there's some Union cav over here that's got carbines, and they were quite effective. I would say from the standpoint of the Union, what you see as the game end is 100% me just loading up very gamey. If there was the potential that the game would have extended, he wouldn't have had these guys back here. He would have moved up. He would have done some things differently that probably would have put more of his units within potential reach of skedaddling that HQ. So instead of stacking up like I did here, you know, you might have seen a defense that was a little more, I might have come up and tried to pin some guys, counterattack to a certain extent. I had some cav over here that really held up a decent part of his force too, and one or two of those rolls change, and I think the game's maybe slightly different.
I think maybe your initial idea, having that first roll be 5 or 6, the game ends, because that way that would change my thinking. Yeah, because then I would almost play that it's going to go longer than 3 turns, because I mean, we've kind of seen it's hard to ram to get that in 3 turns.
Yeah, what did we determine? You had 11 or 12 movement points, I think, to get to the HQ.
You almost need to have at least like 4 hex advancement every turn,
which is tough if you don't get the rolls. And you even had what I thought was maybe an optimal opening turn. I mean, your opening turn was pretty good with the number of cowardly legs you threw down and things like that. So it was fun. I enjoyed playing it. For whatever reason, I always like playing the defender that just gets smashed and has to try to hold things together. And
I like being the reckless moron that just beats my head against you.
It's a good time. We had fun with this. I might tweak some of the rules and we might play it again. Not probably this weekend, but this would be something that I would say, hey, you want to start a vassal game and we just shoot the shit back and forth, or on a Thursday night or something, load it up. I have a vassal module of this, so this is something that if you're interested, I can definitely send you the files for these. Again, I've got the rules kind of set out here. I think I will change the turn length so that we've got a little bit of variation on potentially when the game will end. I think it's pretty tough for the Confederates to actually succeed with the victory conditions that we had kind of licked our finger and stuck it up in the air and said, okay, this is how the Confederates win. But that's kind of how we do these little scenarios that you design. You don't really know, so. But we had fun, I would say.
I think so.
10 out of 10 for fun.
Yeah.
A couple Mexican beers to help us soak in what we got going on here. We got Brave to a Fault. We got Storming Redan number 2. This is just a quick little, this will be super simple. But we've got some other stuff on the docket for tonight, so we'll see what happens there. And yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully you find this a little bit interesting. This is Line of Battle, the Battle of Mansfield. We got some mosquitoes. We got to turn the fan back on, so we're out of here. Oh, and I was given some heck. Go check out Uncle John's YouTube channel. What's your handle even?
I think _JOHNMAAG.
He's got some videos on Axis Empires on there. He's got some videos on, what is the game you're playing now? War for America?
War for America.
I find those very interesting so far. But
yeah, I don't know what the easy way to tell people how you find a channel.
I don't either. I haven't posted in 3 years, so. All right, peace out.